It's now time for our all-access pass with music legend and rock and roll maverick, Todd Rundgren.
Oh,
Todd Rundgren, welcome to Rock My Collection.
Thank you so much.
Where are you? It looks lush and gorgeous.
I live in Kauai, and this is my house. It's essentially an open lanai, inspired by some of the hotels down in Poipu, where they have these giant atria kind of lobbies that are all open and birds fly through them. Here, I'll just do that. See?
Oh, man.
Whoa! Let's quit shooting in this studio and just and do Rock My Collection from your house, Todd. This is a show called Rock My Collection. And I'm really curious if you wouldn't mind sharing with us some of your prized possessions from your collection.
Well, I'm going to show you something that is not actually the thing I'm going to talk about, but is a factotum for that. And I'll take it out, and you'll probably recognize it, and you'll wonder, is that what I think it is?
The Fool guitar.
There it is.
It is the Fool guitar, yes.
Awesome.
But this is not actually the Fool guitar. I was the owner of the Fool guitar starting in like the early 70s until the mid 90s. And I owned and played the Fool longer, way longer than Eric Clapton did or any other guitar player who had possession of it. I got the original from Jackie Lomax. Jackie Lomax was in a band, I think, called The Undertakers, but I'm not sure. Some other band.
Yes, The Undertakers.
And they got
in
a
the 60s,
solo
yes.
deal at Apple Records. And that is how it wound up in his hands, because it went through George Harrison's hands. And when I got the guitar, it was just in the most horrible shape. The paint job, which had never been sealed, was all like chipping off. Big chunks of it had fallen off. And he wanted $500 for the guitar. So I bought the guitar, and I immediately began restoring it. A friend of mine, an artist friend, retouched the painting. I had that all done, and I played the guitar. I played it on the very first tour I did with Ringo Starr. In the late 80s, we were touring Japan. The guy came to the gig, and he bestowed this on me. He gave me this guitar, which is an exact replica of the original. And in the mid-90s, I actually auctioned off the other guitar. In all truth, I got in trouble with the IRS, and it had to do with this property. I got a whole bunch of money from a deal I made to sell my royalties to Bat Out of Hell, and bought this property with all of it. The guy who sold it to me wouldn't take anything but cash. So the next year I had no money for the IRS and got into a lot of trouble. I figured I better liquidate, whatever I have that's valuable aside from this property. And I auctioned the guitar in Sotheby's first online auction.
That part of the story sucks, but your attitude about it is pretty good. I'm glad that you have at least that replica. Do you know who the artist was?
Simone and Myra Kay.
They painted a lot of stuff, including Rolls Royce for John Lennon, and also a Porsche for Janis Joplin.
Todd, is there anything else that you want to show us from your collection?
I have one other thing of interest that is peripherally musical.
I love this. I love this personal insight.
My very first Macintosh computer.
Holy bananas!
The famous, I don't know if you can see this, the Macintosh 512K.
Wow.
Wow.
That was a loaded machine in those days. I took it out on the road with me when I first started doing solo shows in like the mid-'80s. And there was kind of a procedural music program, and I would improvise with it on stage, just this weird, bizarre, pre-electronica sort of music as part of the show. And I traveled with this everywhere I went. One of the most significant memories I have is I was doing just a solo acoustic performance for some sort of UN-sponsored thing. And I did my performance from the well of the General Assembly of the United Nations. And they gave me the Secretary General's office as my dressing room. In the time before I was doing the show, I was having trouble with this, which would happen. You have to open it up every once in a while, press down the chips, jiggle things and stuff, because it wouldn't boot up. I remember that I couldn't find the proper tool, and they took me down into the underground of the UN, which is an entire little city down there. Like a whole city for UN ambassadors don't want to have to go out on the street and find stuff. It was an amazing experience, all brought to me by my Macintosh 512K machine.
Well, you've always been a real innovator. It's awesome to have you on our show. Todd Rundgren, you're the absolute best. Thank you so much for coming on Rock My Collection.
Thanks a lot, Amit.
Stay awesome.
Shaka.